Well, welcome back to my little channel. Today we're going to talk about a new project that's starting up, and this is a bike build for my son. My son hasn't yet really gotten into road biking, and so we don't know if he's going to become an enthusiast like his dad or not at this point. But it's time. He's just turned 15 years old, and it's time for him to have his first legitimate road bike. And so, as is typical, I guess, of my style, it's too difficult for me to just go and purchase something. I need to build it, and so we've got a plan to build a new bike for my son, and we have a couple of goals. Of course, since we don't know what the future of this bike is going to be, we want to be very conscious of the amount of money that we're investing in it. At the same time, because of my particular enthusiasm, and hopefully that will transfer to him at some point, we have a goal of seeing how much high-tech we can get into this project without spending too much money. We'll go through the different components, we'll go through the pricing of those components, and we'll see if we can hit this goal of the biggest bang for the buck. At the same time, lightweight, road racer, quality parts. Yes, we're going to cut a few corners because we have to hit the budget target. But nevertheless, we'll see how it works out. I'm excited about this because I think we're going to come out with a pretty good end product. So let's get into it. We will first take a look at the frame. One of the things that I do or have done in this particular project, well, all projects, in fact, is do a lot of research online, always looking for things that are on sale. In this case, I also have to explain that I reside in Denmark, and and I love living in Denmark. For all sorts of reasons. It's just an awesome country. The one thing I'm not too famous about, however, is that the taxes across the board are quite high, whether it's income tax or whether it's sales tax or what we call VAT, value-added tax here. And the VAT in Denmark for everything is 25%. So what I've attempted to do here is remove the 25%, not talk about the Danish currency, which is the krone, but convert it to the latest conversion rate for US dollars. So we'll be expressing the purchase prices US dollars before tax, which is typical of US sales. And that way, hopefully, we have a good playing field that everybody can relate to. So anyway, here we go. We're going to start this project with the frame, of course. In the frame, we were very fortunate in order to find a actually award-winning frame from a couple of years ago. This one's brand new. It's a frame that is both lightweight, comes from a very good, well-known company, and it was on sale at a very good price. So let's take a look at that first. The frame for this project is a Wilier. It's a carbon frame. It is a design which is looked or talked about as both being compact, compliant, and fast. The weight of this frame, this is the GTR SL. They have a couple of editions of this frame. The current one, I think the only one that has continued to go forward, this particular, the SL, which is the lightest of the group originally, is no longer produced as far as I know. What is produced is the team version of this, which is uses a bit different carbon weave, and therefore ends up being a little heavier than this particular frame. This frame comes in at about 970 grams, and the fork is about 380 grams, as I recall. So I think we're going to have a good base off of which to work on. This one is a large. My son is a bit more than 6 feet tall, so he probably could have gotten into an extra large, but again, we don't know how he's going to adapt to it, whether he's going to like it and use it, or whether we're going to have to turn this frame in the bike at some point in the future. So that being the case, and also to get this price, the supplier only had the largest frame they had was a large. But we're going to make up for that by getting a little longer stem and a little longer seat tube, seat post. So I think he'll be fine with it. I'm sure he'll be fine with it. So I'm excited about that. It's a beautiful frame. It's from Wilier, which is an Italian frame builder, well known, been around forever, and makes absolutely top of the line products. So a good place to start, our Wilier GTR SL frame. All right, now that we have the proper frame for this project, the next order of business is to move into the Groupset. And the Groupset, again, for this level, entry level, but proper entry level for a nice road bike. By the way, one of the goals of this is that should my son become enthusiastic and want to continue to ride and maybe want to upgrade some of the components and so forth, based on the frame that we've just chosen and some of the other components that we're going to be including as part of this project, the upgrade path is pretty clear and should be clear for some period of time. If he has the bike for 10 years, yeah, chances are he's going to want to move on to something else which is appropriate for the time. But for the foreseeable future, the near term, mid-term, this level of bike I think will work extremely well. So anyway, getting back into the drivetrain, I'm sorry, the component set. We're going to start off with the 105, the R7011 speed Shimano, and this is the shift and brake set for the Groupset. Next is going to be the calipers. So calipers, we're going with rim brakes because again, we don't need to get him something he's not necessarily going to need straight off. I know that a lot of people will be arguing for disc brakes, but this is appropriate for this level, particularly to hit targets regarding lightweight and budget. So good stopping power here based on the wheel set we're going to put on here. Pretty happy with the 105 brake set, solid piece of gear. Next is the rear derailleur. We have is the Shimano 105. In this case, it's the long cage. The reason for the long cage is because the cassette on the back, we want to go from 11 speed, but 11 to 32 tooth in case we hit some of the climbs in our little town here in Wilier, particularly on our way to our house. It has some pretty steep inclines. Denmark is not known for its mountainous areas, but there are a few roads that we'll be hitting that are quite steep. As I mentioned, the road leading up to our house is a 19-degree climb, so 32 teeth for a rear cassette I think will come in useful. So long cage on this, so he can hit that in the future if he needs to get more on the cassette or fewer on the cassette. This rear derailleur will still handle that. And then finally, the complementary 105 front derailleur. And this little guy just does what it's supposed to do and does it well. So appropriate, again, for this project. Now, that's where my choice of Shimano ended as far as the drivetrain goes, for a number of reasons. One is, again, I'm a fan of Italian products, and one vendor that manufacturer that has really caught my attention and that I love using because of the quality of the components is Mish. And so for the crankset, we're going with Mish. In this case, it's the race edition of Mish, which is their middle of the line. And this particular crankset is, the chain rings are a 5239. Again, it was a bit difficult in general finding components because this is the year 2022. This is the first part of the year, and components, for all sorts of reasons, supply chain reasons, have been very difficult to come by. But I was fortunate to be able to find this at again on sale at a very good price. We'll talk about that in a second. And but the only model I was able to get is the 5239, which is fine because again, my son is a bit tall, so the 50 and he's quite strong. So the 52, I think he'll be able to push with no problem. The 39, particularly because he's new at it, I think is a bit steep. So what we're doing is I went and I found a 36 chainring as well for this particular crankset, the Mish, and so we'll replace, initially we'll replace the 39 with the 36, so that'll be a little bit easier for him. The crank length is a 172.5, so pretty standard information there, or configuration there. Bottom bracket, we stuck with Mish only because, again, their components tend to be very high quality. One of the things that, if you read up on Mish, that they dislike in a big way is having any failures and getting any failures back to the factory. So they tend to build in the quality from the beginning. So what we have is a Mish bottom bracket. It is a BB86, so it's press fit, and that's what this Wilier frame is calling for. So that should be straightforward and should match up, obviously, straightforward with the crank. So no anticipated issues there. Next, we have the the cassette, the rear cassette. So the cassette, again, I had some issues finding the 1132 tooth when I was out shopping for this, and simply could not find it initially anywhere in any model. But finally, I was able to, some sources popped up, and I was able to get an 1132, 11-speed, of course, rear cassette. In this case, it's from Sunrace. And many years ago, I had used some Sunrace products. Very happy with the quality of Sunrace. And quite frankly, when you look at this thing and you compare it to, say, the Shimano 105, it's almost impossible to tell the difference. Weight-wise, it's quite good as well. So I think we'll be happy with that. If not, eventually we'll find something else to replace it. And then finally, for the drivetrain, our chain is the KMC X11 or 11-speed. In this case, we were able to find something with a bit uniqueness to it. This one is a silver and black, so it gives a little custom feel to the bike. I think it will have a total custom feel after we get done with it, but this will just be one more component. So the KMC X11 chain is is what we're going to be installing on this project. Next we go to the cockpit. Starting off, we have some aero bars. This particular bar is from Pro. It's a PLT, and in this case it's an aero alloy bar, and it's a shallow drop, and it's also 42 centimeters wide. So again, that should fit him fine. It'll be a little narrow. He can probably step up to as much as a 44 because, like I mentioned, he's a pretty big guy. But the current trends, of course, is trying to get a little narrow for a little more aero. Since it's his first bike, serious road bike, I don't think he's going to care, quite frankly. So we went with 42, and we should be happy with that. I was pretty impressed with how light this bar is. So it'll be interesting to see just what the total weight of the bike ends up being, because I'm guessing that without pedals we'll be able to come in at under 8 kilos. That's the goal, but let's see what happens with that. Not the most important thing, but that'd be fun if it did come in at that. Next is our stem, and in this case, for the budget, we're sticking with alloy again. In this case, it's Dita, and it is a 130 millimeter stem, again, to give him a little more length in his reach. So I'm pretty happy with that. This particular one is a 02, and again, I'm quite happy with the relatively light weight of this stem. It was quite surprising when I unboxed it. So we'll be installing that, and I think that'll help with the fit. In addition to that, of course, we're going to go with some bar tape, in this case Physique, because in a minute we're going to be taking a look at the saddle, which is also Physique. So we've got our bar tape for that. Next is the seat post. Now here is where we are taking a chance to cut some corners, but the initial impression is really quite impressive. This I acquired from Amazon. It is a full carbon, including the rocker, which is carbon as well, if you can see. And this is the first time I've gotten a seat post rather, that has a carbon as opposed to an alloy rocker. So that's quite nice. This particular one, again, because we're trying to get some stretch, is 400 millimeters, so that should help. This collar, rubber collar, did not come with it. I purchased that separately, but again from Amazon, in order to maybe help keep a little moisture out of the seat tube on the frame. But I'm really looking forward to that. This thing seems, it's quite lightweight, but the quality seems extremely high, and it seems quite robust. So initially, there's no apparent reason to be concerned with this. In fact, just the opposite. I'm really quite happy with what this appears to represent. So we'll be keeping an eye on that, of course, and if there's any issues with it, I'll report back to on the YouTube channel. So that's pretty much it for the cockpit. We wanted to talk about the seat as well. In this case, we're going with the Physique K1, which is this guy here. Part of the reason that I'm going to install this particular seat, which is kind of overkill for this level of project, but nevertheless, I was able to find this seat at a very good price, this saddle at a very good price, at a Danish online location called Pro Owned, and they're one of the outfits that purchase the equipment from the pro teams and then resell it on their site. So this particular one, also because he's new at road biking, if you will, proper road bikes, this one has a little more cushion to it. It's also all carbon rails and frame, but it has a little more cushion to it. The model is primarily a TT saddle, but I think that'll work extremely well for him, particularly for his first bike. So maybe he's getting a little spoiled with this saddle right off the bat, but nevertheless, I think that'll add to the quality of the overall build. So we have the saddle. Let's next turn to what wheels we're going to use. We're going to be installing these, and this is a 35 millimeter deep wheel. It's the Vision Team 35. I don't believe there's a better wheel for an entry-level bike for the price on the market. At least I've not been able to find one, and so I bought a few versions or a few models of this particular Vision Team 35. In fact, I have one up here on the Kawada Corsa that I built or upgraded a couple of years ago. In fact, the upgrade, I filmed the upgrade on the Kawada, and it actually ended up being featured on the GCN Tech Show. I think it was week 156 or 152 or something like that. So that was quite a surprise. Nevertheless, I ride that bike all the time. It has these wheels on it, and it is, I love the wheels. They work fine. They're fast enough. You don't have to worry about breaking surface. You don't have to worry about anything actually with these wheels. So I think this is a perfect wheel for this level of build. So I'm really happy that I was able to find these again on sale. And I'll run through the prices here in just a minute. So on those wheels, we are going to install some Pirelli tires. In this case, they're sort of middle level Pirelli tires, the P7s. These are, excuse me, 26 millimeters wide, and they have good protection as well. So since he'll be learning to ride this bike, he's not going to be avoiding, potholes and debris that's on the surface of the road straight away. So I think these will be a good place to start. I've not used P7s before. The early indications that I read on these are pretty good. So again, we'll try them out and we'll see what our personal experience with the Pirelli P7s are. That covers most of the major components for the build. Very excited to get started with this. There's also some fun things that we're going to put on, miscellaneous items. One thing again is an Amazon purchase, which is super lightweight carbon cages, and it just happens to be in a color that matches his frame. So this will be, I think, a pretty cool addition. I mean, really lightweight. These things are I don't know what they weigh, but they're next to nothing. Hopefully they last a little more in no time at all. On top of that, some fun bling things. We're going to be installing some jockey wheels. In this case, the oversized jockey wheels, KCNC, aluminum jockey wheels, And so that should be fun. In addition to that, and I've used this product before as well, we've got a full carbon seat tube clamp or seat post clamp, and again, lightweight, pretty robust. It's a little wider than typical, so I'm hoping that it's going to fit on this frame. I have one of these also on the Kawada. It fits perfect. I've had nothing but good experience with the previous one I've got, so we're going to throw this on the project as well. And then one ridiculous thing that is going in here, and this is primarily so he knows it's his bike and total customized. This is an interesting company called Wilier Design. I immediately forget where it's out of. I think it's Netherlands or someplace. But anyway, it's an artist design. It's stem cap, and he has custom designs. In this case, you probably can't see it at this point, but this design is called the Monster, and it's on a carbon cap, so it should be good fun and something that conversation piece that he can talk about. Cost way too much money, particularly for this level of bike, but you know, it's a small component, so it's not breaking the bank. What did we miss here? We missed some cables. We're going with Jaguar for our cables. In this case, we have the shift set, which is in a carbon silver external casing, which I hope works with the colored frame that we have. So anyway, I've always had good luck with Jaguar. And then to mix things up a little bit, we're going to do the brake set. And as hard as I try to get away from this color combination, I just love this braided white cable for the brakes. It just is such a great look on the bike. So we're going to do that again for this project. What else do I have? I just have an array of fasteners also, anodized fasteners, mostly in black and red. We'll also have some carbon spacers, a number of those, and we're going to have some fun with that because we're going to mix in some clear red spacers as well. So it'll be custom, there's no doubt about that. I'm really looking forward to this build. I hope that you will join us in watching us put this thing together. And besides that, I hope you have a great day and you join us on our next video. Thanks very much. Bye for now.